It's no secret that my wife and I really enjoy Italian food. More specifically though, we both enjoy really saucy and cheesy recipes. And that's a level of comfort that you get while eating a nice pasta that you can't really get from other foods. And so the problem, however, is that lately we've been trying to eat healthier or at the very least make smarter decisions. And unfortunately, that means pasta doesn't end up on our menu very often. So that's where today's recipe comes in. Eggplant lasagna. Now, this recipe is not going to be the most healthiest you've ever seen. However, it's going to be a gluten-free option, and we're going to be using part-skim cheeses throughout this entire recipe. So it may be a healthier alternative to something like a veggie lasagna or eggplant parm. So we're going to start with the sauce. We're going to use 2 cans of a high-quality crushed tomato, 28 ounces. The tomatoes are practically the only core ingredient in the sauce, and so you want to make sure you're choosing a high-quality sauce or crushed tomato that has a lot of natural sweetness inside of it. Now, this crushed tomato that I already have has basil already added in it, so I'm not going to need to add more basil on top. But we want to just take our crushed tomatoes and allow them to simmer on a low heat for 20-25 minutes. The simmering process will help eliminate that processed flavor that canned foods have sometimes. Along with the crushed tomatoes, we're going to add about a cup or 2 of water to get to that texture that we need for the sauce. For the seasoning, we'll do all the seasoning at the end once the sauce has finished its simmering process. While the sauce is cooking, we're going to prep our eggplant. We're using 3 medium-sized eggplants here that we're going to cut long ways, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick. If you're not a fan of the skin of an eggplant, you can peel the skin off before you cut the slices. However, I kind of like the different textures in the lasagna, so I'm going to keep the skin on. Now we're going to place our slivers of eggplant on a flat surface and just salt them and allow the moisture to come out. After about 5 minutes, and after we've salted both sides of the eggplant, we can dab the eggplant with a paper towel and get that moisture off initially. Now we're going to put our eggplant onto some sort of baking tray and allow them to bake for about 15 minutes at 350 degrees. After 15 minutes, we should be able to flip them and allow them to brown on the other side a bit. Once both sides of our eggplant are cooked, we're going to pull them out and allow them to cool so that we can handle it. So while our eggplant's cooking, we can get our filling going. For our filling, we're going to use 16 ounces of part-skim ricotta cheese, about 4 ounces of mozzarella cheese, about 2 ounces, 3 ounces of parmesan cheese, and some fresh chopped parsley. If you have fresh basil, then you can use fresh basil as well. And we're also going to add some frozen spinach that's been cooked and we've wrung all the water out of it. Seasoning wise, we're going to season it with salt, pepper, and some dried oregano to taste. Now we're just going to give that a good mix and we should have our filling. So at this point, we now need to make some final adjustments to our sauce. So we will season it with salt, pepper, and dried oregano. And if necessary, you can add some sugar depending on the sweetness of your tomatoes. Just make sure you do your taste testing first. We're also going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper for a little bit of spice. Now we're ready for the actual lasagna formation. In a small grease baking vessel of your choice, you're going to layer your lasagna starting with the sauce. So a light layer of sauce, followed by a single layer of our eggplant. Then we're going to cover the eggplant with our ricotta mixture, followed by more sauce, and then we keep layering. So another layer of eggplant, ricotta, and more sauce. And we're going to do this until we're out of our eggplant. Now, once we're out of eggplant on our final layer, we're just going to put a layer of sauce and a layer of shredded mozzarella, and then that's going to be the top of our lasagna. So we're gonna cover our lasagna with foil and allow it to bake for about 30 minutes at 350 degrees. After 30 minutes, we're gonna be able to pull out the lasagna, take the foil off, and then broil it for a minute or two to just get a brown crust on top. Once out of the oven, you gotta slow it down, you gotta let it cool for about 10 minutes before you just immediately cut into the lasagna so it doesn't fall apart on you. But once it's cool, you can serve it up with a nice side salad and you have yourself a nice gluten-free Italian meal with all the flavor of pasta. I hope you enjoyed this one. Try it for yourselves.